My wife April was screwing her coworker Derek, and I found out through a GPS tracker I'd installed in her company car. Not exactly the romantic discovery you'd expect from a marriage counselor's handbook, but then again, April never read those anyway. The text came at 7:43 p.m. Stuck in traffic, hours late, don't wait up. I'm Max Lawton, lead electrical engineer at Consolidated Power Solutions, and I know BS when I smell it. Traffic doesn't park itself outside Derek Mason's townhouse for 3 hours. But according to the GPS app on my phone, that's exactly where April's Jeep had been sitting since 4:30. "Dad, where's Mom?" Ellie asked, poking her head into my workshop. At 15, she had April's sharp eyes, but thankfully, none of her mother's talent for deception. "Working late," I said, watching the little blue dot on my screen that represented my wife's location. Still hadn't moved. Again? Mia, my 13-year-old, appeared beside her sister. "She's been working late every Tuesday and Thursday for months." Smart kid. Smarter than her old man, apparently, who'd been buying April's overtime stories like a sucker at a carnival game. I'd installed the tracker 6 months ago, after April claimed someone had been following her. "For security," I told her. She'd been grateful then, kissing my cheek and calling me her protective husband. Now I knew the only thing she needed protection from was getting caught. The workshop felt smaller suddenly, filled with the electrical components and half-finished projects that used to bring me peace. Now they just reminded me of all the evenings I'd spent down here, while April was supposedly at yoga class or book club or whatever lie she'd served up that week. My phone buzzed, a text from Derek's wife, Tasha. "Is April working late again tonight?" I stared at the message. Tasha Mason was sharp as a tack, a paralegal who didn't miss details. If she was asking, she already suspected something. "Yeah," I typed back. "You?" "Derek's at the gym. Has been every Tuesday and Thursday for months. Funny coincidence." My hands were steady as I screenshotted the GPS location and sent it to Tasha. Within seconds, my phone rang. "Holy crap, Max." Tasha's voice was ice-cold fury, wrapped in silk. "They're at our house." "I know. What are we going to do about it?" I looked around my workshop at the tools and equipment I'd accumulated over 20 years of marriage, the life I'd built while April was apparently building something else entirely. "We're going to catch them," I said, "and then we're going to make them pay." 30 minutes later, I was parked across from Derek's townhouse complex, watching Tasha's Honda pull up beside me. She stepped out wearing dark jeans and a black hoodie, looking like she was dressed for war. "You sure about this?" she asked, sliding into my passenger seat. "You having second thoughts?" "Hell no. Derek's been lying to my face for months. I want to see exactly what I'm dealing with." Tasha was beautiful in a dangerous way, with dark hair and eyes that missed nothing. She'd married Derek straight out of college, worked her A off to put him through business school, and got repaid with infidelity. If I wasn't so focused on my own betrayal, I might have appreciated the irony. "I've got my key," she said, holding up a silver house key. "Derek thinks I gave it back after our fight last month." Men never pay attention to details. Unlike women, unlike smart women, April's been sloppy, designer clothes she can't afford on her salary, new perfume, working out more, classic affair behavior. We walked to the building entrance, and Tasha let us in with her key. The elevator ride to the 3rd floor felt like descending into hell, except hell probably had better lighting. "Unit 3B, Tasha whispered, stopping in front of a door with a brass nameplate reading Mason. I pulled out my phone and started recording. "Smile for the camera, honey." Tasha slid the key into the lock, turned it slowly, and pushed the door open. The sound hit us first. April's voice, breathy and urgent, coming from the bedroom down the hall. Words I'd heard before, in better times, now being offered to another man, like a gift I'd never deserved. "Jesus," Tasha whispered. We crept down the hallway, my phone camera capturing everything. The living room was a mess of discarded clothes, April's blue blouse draped over Derek's leather chair, her heels kicked carelessly beside the coffee table. The bedroom door was half open. I'd imagined this moment during the drive over, but reality was worse. April was on top, her back to us, moving with an enthusiasm I hadn't seen in years. Derek's hands were tangled in her blonde hair, his face twisted in pleasure. "Well," I said loudly, "this explains the overtime." April screamed and rolled off Derek, grabbing for the sheet. Derek sat up, his face cycling through confusion, recognition, and terror in about 3 seconds. Max, I can explain. Can you? I kept filming as April scrambled for her clothes. Because I'm really curious how you explain being stuck in traffic while getting crude in Derek's bed. You followed me? April's voice cracked with indignation, as if I was the one who'd done something wrong. Tasha stepped into view and Derek's face went white. Hi, honey, how was the gym? Tasha, wait. Shut up. Tasha's voice could have frozen fire. Both of you, shut up and listen. She walked to Derek's dresser, opened the top drawer, and pulled out a pair of handcuffs I really didn't want to think about. You want to play games? Let's play. Before Derek could react, Tasha had cuffed his right wrist to the metal headboard. He was naked, trapped, and looking like he wanted to disappear. Tasha, please. Please what? Please forgive you for screwing my husband's employee in our bed. Please pretend I didn't just watch you betray 20 years of marriage. April had managed to get her blouse on, but it was inside out and missing half its buttons. Max, if you just listen. I'm listening. I'm also recording. Say something memorable. You can't use that. It's illegal. I laughed, a sound with no humor in it. You're crewing another woman's husband in their bed, and you're worried about legality? This is maltreatment. This is evidence. I stopped recording and pocketed my phone. April and Derek could sort out their immediate problems. I had bigger plans. Max, April said, her voice switching to the pleading tone she used when she wanted something. We can work this out. It doesn't have to end like this. You're right, I said. It doesn't have to end like this. I headed for the door, leaving Tasha to deal with her husband. It's going to end much worse. By the time I got home, I'd already forwarded the video to 6 people. April's parents, her boss, her sister, and the 3 women in her book club who loved gossip more than literature. The house felt different now, like a stage set for a play that had already ended. I walked through the rooms April and I had decorated together, seeing them with new eyes. The wedding photos on the mantel looked like evidence of a crime. The furniture we'd bought piece by piece over the years felt like props in someone else's life. I started with the bedroom. April's clothes went into trash bags. The expensive dresses, the designer shoes, the lingerie I'd never seen her wear. Everything that reminded me of the woman who'd been lying to my face for months got bagged and tagged for disposal. My phone buzzed constantly. Text from April. Where are you? We need to talk. Don't do anything stupid. Too late for that advice. I changed the locks at midnight, installing new deadbolts on the front and back doors. 20 years as an electrical engineer teaches you a lot about security systems. By morning, April would need a key she didn't have to get into a house that was no longer hers. The girls were at April's sister's house for the week, a sleepover that now felt like Providence. They didn't need to see their parents' marriage implode in real time. At 6 a.m., I drove to April's office building and parked across the street. Consolidated Tech Solutions occupied the 3rd floor of a glass tower downtown, and I knew their security system because I'd helped install it 2 years ago. The building's main electrical panel was in the basement, accessible through a service entrance that most people ignored. I had legitimate access. CPS maintained several buildings in the area, but this visit wasn't exactly professional. April's company used a centralized sound system for announcements and background music. Very modern, very sophisticated, and very hackable if you knew which wires to cross. I'd edited the audio from last night's recording down to a 30-second loop of April's voice at her most enthusiastic. Not pornographic enough to get me arrested, but explicit enough to end her career. At 8:45 a.m., 15 minutes into the Monday morning staff meeting, I triggered the playback. April's moans echoed through the entire 3rd floor. I watched from the parking garage as people poured out of the building, some laughing, others looking scandalized. April emerged 10 minutes later, her face red with humiliation, walking fast toward her car. My phone rang. April, you fool, she said without preamble. Good morning to you too, sweetheart. How could you do this to me? To us? Us? There is no us. There's you, there's Derek, and there's me cleaning up the mess. Max, please, I made a mistake. You made a choice. Every Tuesday and Thursday for months, you made the same choice. Didn't mean anything. Then you destroyed our marriage for nothing. That's even worse. I hung up and drove to work where my partner Glenn was waiting with coffee and a crap-eating grin. Heard you had an eventful weekend, he said. News travels fast. Tasha called my wife. Said you two caught them red-handed. Glenn Martinez had been my work partner for 8 years, a solid guy who knew electronics almost as well as I did. He was also the closest thing I had to a best friend, which said something depressing about my social life. What's the plan? He asked. Plan? Come on, Max. I've seen you wire a building from scratch. You don't do anything without a plan. He was right. The audio stunt was just the opening act. April and Derek had humiliated me, lied to me, and tried to make me feel crazy for suspecting the truth. Now they were going to learn what real consequences felt like. Derek drives a black Jeep Grand Cherokee, I said. Yeah, so? So he's proud of that car? Talks about it constantly. Custom sound system, leather interior, GPS navigation. And cars are just electrical systems on wheels. Glenn's grin widened. What do you need? That afternoon, we followed Derek from his office to his usual lunch spot, a trendy bistro where he probably took April on their romantic afternoons. Derek parked in the back lot, far from other cars, like though his Jeep was made of gold instead of metal and plastic. Keep watch, I told Glenn. Derek's Jeep was newer than mine, but the basic electrical systems were the same. I popped the hood and went to work, installing a small device Glenn had helped me build that morning. It looked like a standard relay, the kind of component any mechanic might add during routine maintenance. But this relay was special. It was connected to my phone via a cellular signal, and when I triggered it, it would cause Derek's engine to die and his horn to start blaring. The sound system would loop a specific song at maximum volume until the battery died. Done, I said, closing the hood. What song? Glenn asked. It Wasn't Me by Shaggy. Jesus, Max, that's evil. That's the point. We were back at the office when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You don't know who you're messing with. I showed Glenn. Derek? Probably. Tough guy behind a keyboard. My phone rang. April's parents. Maxwell, April's mother said in her frostiest tone, we need to talk. Margaret Whitman came from old money and never let anyone forget it. She'd tolerated me as a son-in-law because I made decent money and kept April happy, but she'd never thought I was good enough for her daughter. Hello, Margaret. What you've done to April is unconscionable. We're prepared to take legal action. For what? Documenting infidelity? For maltreatment? For invasion of privacy? For deliberately damaging her reputation? Her reputation damaged itself. I just provided the documentation. This conversation is over, Maxwell. You'll be hearing from our attorney. Looking forward to it. I'm sure he'll enjoy the video evidence. I hung up and looked at Glenn. Think I'm going too far? I think you're just getting started. That evening, Derek's Jeep died in the middle of the busiest intersection downtown during rush hour traffic. The horn blared Shaggy's voice across 6 lanes of increasingly angry drivers, while Derek sat helpless behind the wheel. By the time the tow truck arrived, half the city had seen Derek's humiliation, and someone had posted video on social media with the caption, "When karma has a sense of humor." I watched it all from a coffee shop across the street, sipping a latte and planning my next move. April and Derek had started this war, but I was going to finish it. The restraining order arrived Tuesday morning, served by a deputy who looked embarrassed to be there. Maxwell Lawton? That's me. You're ordered to stay at least 500 feet away from April Lawton and Derek Mason. No contact, direct or indirect. I read through the paperwork while the deputy waited. Standard boilerplate about maltreatment and emotional distress, signed by a judge who'd probably never seen the evidence. Understood, I said. Sir, you might want to get a lawyer. Already on it. After the deputy left, I called Frank Morrison, the best divorce attorney in the city. Frank was expensive, ruthless, and exactly what I needed. Max, I heard about your situation. Tasha Mason recommended me. How much have you heard? Enough to know you've been busy. We need to meet today. Frank's office was downtown, all dark wood and leather chairs designed to intimidate. Frank himself was 60-something, gray-haired, and had the look of a man who'd seen every dirty trick in the book. Show me what you've got, he said. I played the video from Derek's bedroom, showed him the GPS evidence, and explained about the audio system hack. Jesus Christ, Max. You've got enough evidence to bury them both, but you've also given them ammunition for a maltreatment case. What's my exposure? Depends on how far you want to push this. The bedroom video is legal. You were invited into the building by a resident. The GPS tracking is gray area since it's a company vehicle. The audio thing, he shrugged. That's probably going to cost you. How much? Money? Not much. Reputation? Depends on who's telling the story. Frank leaned back in his chair. Here's what I don't understand. You've got a slam dunk divorce case. April cheated. You have proof. You'll get everything you want in court. Why the elaborate revenge? Because court takes months, and they humiliated me. I want them to understand what that feels like. And if it backfires, then I go down swinging. Frank smiled. I like you, Max. Let's screw them up. That afternoon, I got a call from my daughters. April had told them I'd been acting strange and they shouldn't come home until things settled down. Dad, what's going on? Ellie asked. Mom won't tell us anything. Your mother and I are having problems, adult problems. Are you getting divorced? 15-year-olds don't miss much, probably. Is it because of Derek? I almost dropped the phone. What do you know about Derek? He's been coming to Mom's office events for months. She talks about him constantly. Mia and I thought it was weird. Why didn't you say anything? We're kids, Dad. Nobody listens to us about adult stuff. I'm listening now. Derek's creepy. He stares at Mom like she's dessert, and he acts like he owns her. We don't like him. You don't have to worry about Derek anymore. Good. When can we come home? Soon, sweetheart. I promise. After I hung up, I sat in my workshop and thought about what Ellie had said. April had been parading Derek around in front of our daughters, making them complicit in her deception. That crossed a line I hadn't even known existed. My phone buzzed. A text from Derek. Meet me tonight. Parking lot behind Murphy's Bar. 9 p.m. Come alone. I stared at the message. Derek wanted a confrontation. Probably thought he could intimidate me into backing down. He was about to learn how wrong he was. Murphy's Bar was in the industrial district, surrounded by warehouses and auto repair shops. Not the kind of place where screaming would attract attention. I arrived early and parked where I could see the entire lot. Derek's replacement car, a silver BMW he had probably rented, pulled in exactly at 9. Derek stepped out wearing an expensive suit and a confident expression that faltered when he saw me walking toward him. Max! Derek, nice car. Rental? We need to talk. Talk. Derek was bigger than me, maybe 6'2" to my 5'10", with the kind of gym muscles that looked impressive but had never been tested. He was used to intimidating people with his size and his money. This has gone far enough, he said. April made a mistake, but she doesn't deserve what you're doing to her. What I'm doing to her? I'm not the one who crewed another woman's husband. You're destroying her career, her reputation, her relationship with her family. She did that herself. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it. Derek stepped closer, trying to use his height advantage. You need to stop. Delete the video. Call off your lawyer and let April move on with her life. Or what? Or things get unpleasant for you. I laughed. Unpleasant? Derek, my wife has been screwing you for months while lying to my face. My daughters think I'm a failure. My in-laws want to sue me. How exactly could things get more unpleasant? You'd be surprised. Derek reached into his jacket, and for a second I thought he might have a weapon. Instead, he pulled out an envelope. Photos, he said. You in April's office building, you tampering with my car, you meeting with Tasha. A private investigator is expensive, but April's parents have deep pockets. I opened the envelope. The photos were good quality, clearly showing me entering the building, working under Derek's hood, sitting in a coffee shop with Tasha. Circumstantial evidence, but enough to support a maltreatment case. Blackmail? I asked. Insurance, back off or we use these. I studied Derek's face in the parking lot lighting. He looked confident, like a man holding winning cards. You know what your problem is, Derek? Enlighten me. You think this is a negotiation. You think you can threaten me into giving up and going away quietly. Can't I? I smiled and pulled out my own phone, showing him the screen. It displayed a live audio feed from a recording app that had been running since I'd arrived. You just threatened me while admitting to hiring a private investigator to stalk me. In most states, that's criminal conspiracy. Derek's confidence cracked. You're recording this? I'm documenting it, just like I documented you crewing my wife. You son of a witch! Derek swung at me, a wide haymaker that telegraphed itself from across the parking lot. I stepped aside and let his momentum carry him past me, then grabbed his arm and used his own weight to slam him face first into his rental car. Here's the thing about blackmail, Derek, I said, keeping his arm pinned behind his back. It only works if the other person has something to lose. Get off me. I've already lost my marriage, my family, and my reputation. What exactly are you going to threaten me with? I released him and stepped back. Derek turned around, his nose bleeding, his expensive suit torn. This isn't over, he said. You're right, it's not. I got in my truck and drove away, leaving Derek in the parking lot with his threats and his bloody nose. But I wasn't going home. I had one more stop to make, and Derek had just given me the perfect excuse. 3 days later, I invited Derek and April to my workshop for what I called a final negotiation. I claimed I was ready to hand over all the evidence in exchange for full custody of my daughters and a clean divorce. It was BS, of course, but they were desperate enough to believe it. My workshop occupied the entire basement of my house, filled with electrical equipment, tools, and projects I'd accumulated over 2 decades. It was my sanctuary, the place where I'd retreated when marriage got difficult. Now it was going to be my theater. I'd spent the previous 2 days preparing. Hidden cameras in every corner, motion sensors connected to the lighting system, and a few special surprises I'd learned from 20 years of electrical work. Glenn arrived first, carrying a laptop and wearing a grin that could power the city grid. You sure about this? Yes, never been more sure of anything. And Tasha's on board? Tasha wants blood. She's been planning Derek's destruction longer than I have. What about the legal stuff? Frank says as long as nobody gets physically hurt, we're in the clear. Self-defense, protection of property, citizen's arrest if necessary. Glenn set up the laptop and started the live stream. Channel's ready. We've got viewers from all over the city. Good. Derek loves an audience. April arrived at 7, looking nervous but determined. She'd dressed carefully. Conservative blouse, minimal makeup, the look of a woman trying to appear reasonable. Max, thank you for agreeing to meet. Thank you for coming. She looked around the workshop, taking in the equipment and tools. I always loved this place. You were so happy down here. Past tense, that's appropriate. Derek arrived 10 minutes later, driving yet another rental car. His nose was still slightly swollen from our parking lot encounter, and he moved carefully, like a man expecting trouble. Max. He nodded but didn't offer to shake hands. Derek, how's the face? Fine. April looked between us. What happened to your face? Your husband attacked me. After you threatened me with blackmail photos. April's eyes widened. Derek, you didn't. I did what was necessary. I gestured to 2 chairs I'd positioned in the center of the workshop. Please sit. Let's get this over with. They sat down and I noticed Derek glancing around nervously. Good. He should be nervous. Here's the deal, I said. I give you the video, the GPS evidence, and everything else I've collected. In exchange, April signs divorce papers giving me full custody and half the assets. That's not what we agreed to, April said. It's what I'm offering now. Derek leaned forward. And if we refuse? I smiled and pulled out my phone. Then I upload everything to social media and let the internet decide who's right. You're bluffing. Am I? I triggered the first surprise. The workshop lights strobed on and off, creating a disorienting effect that made both April and Derek flinch. What the hell? Derek stood up. Sit down, Derek. F you. He headed for the door, but I'd already triggered the magnetic locks. The door wouldn't open without a key card that only I possessed. Max, let us out, April said, her voice rising with panic. Not until we finish our conversation. Derek tried the door again, pulling hard on the handle. This is abduction. This is a private meeting on my property. You're free to leave any time. I held up the key card. After we reach an agreement. The live stream was working perfectly. Glenn's laptop showed dozens of viewers watching the confrontation in real time. You're insane, April said. I'm thorough. There's a difference. I triggered the second surprise. The workshop's sound system activated, playing the audio from April and Derek's bedroom encounter at moderate volume. Not loud enough to damage hearing, but clear enough that every word was audible. April's face went white. Turn it off! Why? You seem to enjoy making these sounds? Derek lunged at me, but I was ready. I stepped aside and triggered the third surprise, a modified Tesla coil that sent harmless but impressive electrical arcs across the room. Derek stumbled backward, his eyes wide with terror. Sit down, Derek, before you hurt yourself. You're damn crazy. I'm an electrical engineer having a conversation in my own workshop. Everything here is perfectly legal and completely safe. Tasha's voice came from the sound system. She was watching the live stream and providing commentary. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Derek Mason, serial adulterer and blackmailer, getting exactly what he deserves. Derek spun around, looking for speakers. Where is she? Everywhere and nowhere. The internet is a wonderful thing. April was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. Max, please, just stop this. Stop what? Stop showing people who you really are? Stop letting the world see what you did to our marriage? I made a mistake. You made a choice. Every Tuesday and Thursday for 8 months, you chose Derek over me, lies over truth, selfishness over family. I walked to a workbench and picked up a tablet showing the live stream comments. Hundreds of people were watching now, and the reactions were brutal. Listen to this. I said, Karen from downtown says, April got what she deserved. Mike from the suburbs thinks Derek looks like a coward. Oh, here's a good one. Someone named Jennifer says this is better than reality TV. Please, April whispered. Derek made another run at me, but this time I was ready with the fourth surprise. I triggered a paint sprayer I'd rigged to the ceiling, covering Derek in bright yellow paint from head to toe. You son of a witch. Derek wiped paint from his eyes, looking like a demented canary. That's for crewing my wife. The live stream chat exploded with laughter and applause. We had over 1,000 viewers now, and the story was spreading across social media faster than I'd ever imagined. Max, April said, standing up slowly, I'll sign whatever you want. Just please, let us go. Now we're getting somewhere. I produced the divorce papers Frank had prepared along with a pen. April signed without reading them, her hands shaking. Derek, I said, your turn. My turn for what? To confess. Tell everyone watching exactly what you did. Go to hell. I triggered the final surprise. The paint sprayer activated again, this time covering Derek in bright red paint. He stood in the middle of my workshop looking like a bloody rainbow, paint dripping onto my concrete floor. I can do this all night, I said. How many colors do you want to wear? Derek looked at the cameras, at the live stream, at the 1,000 people watching his humiliation in real time. I had an affair with April Lawton, he said finally. I'm a married man, and I betrayed my wife and family. Louder. I had an affair with April Lawton. I'm a cheating fool who destroyed 2 marriages. The chat exploded with reactions. People were sharing the stream, commenting, making memes from screenshots of Derek covered in paint. I unlocked the door. You can go now. April ran for the exit without looking back. Derek followed, leaving rainbow footprints on my workshop floor. I looked at Glenn's laptop. The live stream had peaked at over 5,000 viewers, and clips were already appearing on every social media platform. Think that was enough? Glenn asked. That was perfect. My phone buzzed with a text from Tasha. Derek just got home. He's locked himself in the bathroom and won't come out. I think he's crying. Another text, this one from Frank. Saw the live stream. Brilliant work. April's lawyer called. They want to settle immediately. A third text from my daughter, Ellie. Dad, everyone at school is talking about your video. Mom's moving out of Aunt Sarah's house. Can we come home now? I looked around my workshop, at the paint stains and electrical equipment, at the tools and projects that had been my refuge for so many years. Yeah, I said out loud, you can come home now. The divorce was finalized 2 weeks later. April got nothing except her personal belongings and a reputation that would follow her for years. Derek was fired from his job when the video went viral, and Tasha took him for everything in their divorce. I got full custody of my daughters, the house, and the satisfaction of knowing that sometimes, just sometimes, the good guys win. The live stream video has been viewed over 2 million times. People still recognize me on the street, usually to shake my hand or buy me a drink. I've been offered book deals, movie rights, and speaking engagements. But the best part isn't the fame or the money or even the revenge. The best part is that my daughters are home, safe and happy, and they know their father is someone who stands up for himself and his family. April and Derek learned that actions have consequences, that lies eventually surface, and that some circuits, once broken, can never be repaired. As for me, I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't getting mad, it's getting even, getting it all on camera, and letting the whole world watch.